That if this war is about oil, as Alan Greenspan pointed out the other day, and many people, other people have, if it is about oil, why are the oil companies making such huge windfall profits at the cost of what we're putting into this war? Yes, that's a legitimate charge.
Alan Greenspan, as you know, Chris, has stepped away from the way that book was marketed, and he said the Bush administration, he doesn't believe they thought the war was about oil.
Well,
He's
let me
making
tell
a
you, I
comment
went back and read the book on the air, and I will do it again. The book stands for itself. He is trying to cozy up with his former allies and colleagues, but clearly Alan Greenspan spent years writing this book. He wrote what he believes. He said the war is obviously about oil.
You know, we'll take it from someone who's out there selling a book. I mean, the way press materials sometimes are written doesn't always necessarily reflect what the real sentiment is of the book.
I'm not going by the PR. I'm going by the text of the book. I read it. It's still in there, Laura. Well, you ought to read it. It's on, I think, 232.
I did read it, Chris. He did not say that the Bush administration got into the war in Iraq because of oil. And if you think he did, then go to the Times he's been interviewed where he doesn't say that.
We'll get the book and read it aloud in a moment when we get
Please do.
You don't have to thank me because we read it, and we will. Laura, we read the book verbatim here, and we'll do it again.
Excellent.
You know, it's hard to do it after you make it into an order, Laura. Let me read you the quote, by the way. Let me read the Alan Greenspan quote from his book. I am saddened that it is politically inconvenient to acknowledge what everyone knows. The Iraq war is largely about oil.
Did he say that George Bush believed when he went in the war was about oil?
He's just said the Iraq war is largely about oil.
He has since commented that he doesn't believe the administration went into Iraq for oil. As many times on this show, I believe different people have implicated.
But
that's not the case.
What does it mean to say the Iraq war was largely about oil? What
I don't care. I really, frankly, don't care what Alan Greenspan is writing. Alan Greenspan is not a national security expert, last time I checked. Last time I checked, he was keeping rates too low in 2004.
Laura, you're always welcome. But that was the quote directly from
I like your brother better than you are right now.
Laura, you know it's hard to face the truth. Anyway, thank you, Chuck Todd. Thank you, Laura.
Ingraham,
coming up.
I think what a lot of people want to know is that, of course, the president-elect can reverse all of this when he takes office in a very short time. Will he reverse these actions taken by President Obama?
I won't make a statement on that at all tonight. I will tell you that even those who are sympathetic to President Obama on most issues are saying that part of the reason he did this today was to, quote, box in President-elect Trump. That would be very unfortunate if that were if politics were the motivating factor here, but we can't help but think that that's often true. Even the New York Times characterized it as such, that this may be an attempt to box him in to see what he'll do as president. That's not the way that peaceful transitions of administrations work in our great democracy.
You think these serious actions
at the moment
that
the president-elect has spoken his piece on this.
Kellyanne, you think these very serious and unprecedented actions that President Obama took today, expelling 35 diplomats, giving them 72 hours to leave the country, sanctioning foreign intelligence services, you think that President Obama did that just to box in Donald Trump?
No, I was actually quoting David Sanger's piece in the New York Times, where he says in one of the opening paragraphs that this could also be an attempt to box in President-elect Trump. And I'm merely saying, if the New York Times report is true and credible, that would be an unfortunate rationale here on top of any other rationales. You're right, Kate, it is unprecedented, and I don't think at the height of the Cold War that this country expelled that many operatives. So I know the president is looking tough in his last couple of weeks. First, I would call them sanctions against Israel over this past weekend, and now sanctions against Russia. But the fact is that we'll see. The word symbolic is being used also by the New York Times and other such, I think, pro-Obama administration outlets. So we'll see if this has teeth, and we'll see if some of our allies follow suit.
Welcome back to Hannity. Outrage is growing after MTV News posted a video on its Twitter account slamming, quote, white guys. Take a look.
Hey, fellow white guys.
It's about to be a new year, and there's a few things we think you could do a little bit better in 2017.
First off, try to recognize that America was never great for anyone who wasn't a white guy.
Can we all just agree that Black Lives Matter isn't the opposite of all lives matter? Black lives just matter. There's no need to overcomplicate it.
Also, Blue Lives Matter isn't a thing.
Cops weren't born with blue skin, right? I mean, yeah, they weren't born blue.
Stop bragging about being woke. Stop saying woke.
Learn what mansplaining is, and then stop doing it.
MTV News has since taken the video down. We reached out to the network for a statement, and they told us, quote, after careful consideration, MTV News has determined that the video does not meet its editorial standards and has been taken down. Joining us now with reaction is nationally syndicated Salem radio host Larry Elder and Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Sheriff Clark, we're going to start with you. Blue Lives Matter is not a thing. I beg to differ with MTV. Do you, sir?
Well, first of all, what does MTV have against white people? I don't have anything against white people, and specifically, I don't have anything against white males. What I use to determine whether I like somebody or not is not the color of their skin, it's not their religion or things like that. It's if they talk stupid or hateful, then I'll make a determination that I don't like them. Right. You know, this white people bashing. The American public, the voter, I should say, this past November spoke up. They've had enough of it. The white male has been bashed continually by the left and by the Democrat Party. Rose up in November, went to the polls. They've had enough of this crap, too. It is time for this country to come together. That identity politics was crushed on November 8th, and it is time. And Donald Trump, he said it. He said it within the last couple of days again. He said, you may not have voted for me, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you are a part of the American dream and a part of the success we're going to have. Right. That's the Gettysburg type address that I talked about that Donald Trump needs to make upon assuming the presidency on January 20th.
Absolutely. Larry, so I coined this victimization propaganda. MTV is very good at, the left is very good at. They're good at developing this propaganda. And again, the victim, playing the victim card always.
Well, that's right. And, you know, there are two groups you can malign in this country and ridicule without any kind of pushback, and that's black conservatives and white males, as Sheriff Clark just now pointed out. And what's interesting about this is one of the speakers said that just because you have black friends doesn't mean that you're not racist against black people. Let's talk about that. There was a Rasmussen poll a few years ago. They asked blacks, Hispanics, and whites, of the three groups, which one is the most racist? White said blacks were more racist than the other two. Hispanics said blacks were more racist than the other two. Blacks said blacks were more racist than the other two. Regarding anti-Semitism, about 12% of the country is anti-Semitic, but about 36% of blacks are. And regarding Hispanics, there was a Duke study that found 60% of Hispanics felt that there were, quote, few or any blacks, close quote, who weren't lazy. So where's the MTV video with resolutions about blacks and Hispanic racism against other groups? Well, it is ridiculous.
Sheriff Clark, let me, Larry pointed something out. I have to ask you this. It's a fairly provocative comment because people are going to push back on it. Can African Americans, can blacks be considered racist?
Of course they can. I mean, look at Al Sharpton. Look at Obama. You know, look at Eric Holder. I could go on and on and on in identifying those that are black racists. But, you know, here's the thing. You know, this country's been great to me. When that clip was played, it said America's only been good to people who are white. No, America's been great to me. I've been able to reach my full potential. But I've been raised not to view everything through the lens of race. When I look at you, Eric, I don't see a white guy. I see a TV host. That's how I look at things. And I think the more that we get back to that, and the more that Donald Trump, who reached out to the black community, I was ecstatic when he did, and he kept it up. He didn't just stick a toe in the water. Donald Trump was sincere that life in the American ghetto for black people is horrible. Many of those cities are run by liberal Democrats. So it's time for this country to come together. I know it's going to be a tough thing to do. The liberal media is going to continue to undermine this president, this future president, and smear him and all the people associated with him. But it is high time in this country for everybody to push back against this hateful ideology coming from the left.
And Larry, same question to you. Can African Americans, can blacks be considered racist?
Of course they can. Are you kidding me? As he pointed out, you got Al Sharpton, who's made all sorts of statements against white people, against Jews. What about Reverend Jeremiah Wright? My goodness, of course they can be racist. But the point is, racism is no longer a major problem in this country. If you get an education, invest in yourself, don't make bad moral mistakes, you can make it in America. If my father could, who didn't know his biological father, was a janitor growing up in the Jim Crow South, literally was kicked out of his house at the age of 13, became a Marine, started a small cafe and built a cafe and retired in comfort. If he can do it, anybody can do it in America.
Sheriff Clark?
We have a chance when Donald Trump is sworn in as the 45th president of the United States to sincerely experience a post-racial presidency. It did not happen under Barack Obama. I believe it will happen under Donald Trump.
Do you, Larry? I mean, a lot of people are saying that the opposite might happen. They're concerned that Donald Trump. But let's go back to what the actual numbers were. The turnout was in the election. African Americans voted for Donald Trump at almost the degree that they voted for Mitt Romney plus John McCain combined, and Hispanics. Donald Trump outperformed almost every estimate among Hispanics.
That's right. It defied all the experts. Despite the alleged racism that he had against blacks and Hispanics, he got a higher percentage of the Hispanic vote than Mitt Romney did, higher percentage of the black vote than Mitt Romney did, higher percentage, way higher than John McCain did, and of the 700 counties that voted for Obama in 2008 and in 2012, he flipped a third of them. So I guess the third of them contracted a case of racism in 2016 that they didn't have in 2012.
All right. Well, Sheriff Clark, I guess, you know, that comment, what have you got to lose, really resonated. Quick thought.
Big time, big time. He has a message of inclusion. It resonated with all Americans. Make America Great Again resonated within the black community. Sure, the Democrats, it's going to take some time for these numbers to flip, you know, in terms of this monolithic black voting pattern for Democrats. But I believe Donald Trump has already begun to chip away at it. And if he continues that, it's going to spell doom for the Democrat Party.
All right, gentlemen, you know what I see when I look at you guys? I see a great law enforcement officer and a great radio host. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And Sheriff Clark. Coming up, tonight's question of the day is next. Stay with us.